Here we're going to do a brief review of correlations, and this should hopefully help you answer discussion board question 2 related to Omar the consultant. Now, one thing you might hopefully remember back from some of your stats classes is that there are a few things, important things to ask ourselves when a correlation is reported. One is the strength or size of the correlation. This has to do with the magnitude of the relationship between the two variables. And here we're only interested in the absolute value of the number. So they can range from 0 up to an absolute value of 1. So technically from -1 to +1. -1 and +1 are both equally strong. They're as strong of a relationship as you can get between the two variables. And 0 would be the smallest relationship or smallest correlation, meaning that there's 0 association between the two variables. So that tells us the magnitude of the relationship. The other thing that we've already sort of implied is the direction of the correlation, and that has to do with the positive or negative sign. Now, if it's a negative correlation, then that means that the two variables are negatively or inversely related, meaning as one variable is higher, the other variable tends to be lower in value. A positive correlation means that the two variables go together or are positively related. As one variable is higher in value, the other variable also tends to be higher in value. The last thing, and this is something that was not mentioned in the discussion board case, is the statistical significance of the correlation. So we can have a correlation, it could be small, it could be large, but unless we know something about the p-value and the sample size, then we're not sure how trustworthy that correlation is. So let's say that the correlation that Omar observed was based on only 10 or 12 employees. That's going to be less meaningful to us, less trustworthy, less statistically significant than, say, that same correlation that was observed across thousands and thousands of employees. So it's always important, to look at the sample size and the statistical significance as well. The next slides, I'm just going to show you some examples of scatter plots to show you what positive and negative correlations look like and different strength size relationships. So here's a perfect positive correlation of 1.0, and in this class we're rarely going to deal with, probably actually never deal with a correlation that strong. This is a perfect one-to-one correlation. So let's say we ask for your height in centimeters and then we have you convert it directly into inches. It should be a one-to-one relationship there. Here is an example of a strong positive correlation. This is showing a scatter plot, so each dot here is supposed to be representing one person, and it's plotting their height on the x-axis against their weight on the y-axis. And if you plot everyone out and you draw the best fitting line through there, that's the correlation. So you can see if we did, just eyeballing it, draw the best fitting line through there, the trend should be going an upward sloping line, which tells us that in general, as height increases, weight also tends to be higher. Taller people tend to weigh more. Now there's always going to be outliers. The correlation doesn't explain everyone perfectly. There might be someone very tall who doesn't weigh a lot, or vice versa, but in general there's a pretty strong relationship there. Here is this is also a strong relationship, but you can see that just eyeballing it, if you were to draw the best fitting line here through the scatter plot of points, that the line would slope downwards. So while we still have a strong sloping downward trend, it is downward rather than upward sloping. So this means as one variable tends to be higher, the other tends to be lower. So this might be something like in an organizational context. Maybe we are looking at job satisfaction and turnover, and we might expect those to be negatively related. So as job satisfaction increases, turnover rates or turnover intentions decrease. In this example, this scatter plot, you should sort of intuitively or just by eyeballing it be able to tell that there's a very small relationship, if anything, here. The scatter plot kind of looks like random noise. If you were to draw the best fitting line through, there's not a strong trend downward or upward. And in fact, when you have the statistical program calculated out, it is a very weak correlation, 0.07. If there was going to be if it was going to be statistically significant, you would need quite a large sample size here in order to detect that relationship and be confident that it wasn't just a chance result. And here's the last example. This is a moderate to strong positive correlation. So the correlation is 0.47 between IQ and income. So this is suggesting that in this sample that the participants or people with higher IQ tended to have higher income from their jobs.